Hey, how's it going? I'm Mike Squires, and this is Couch's Podcast, episode number 201. And my guest, ZouZou Mansour, the leader and vocalist of the band uh, Soraia from Philadelphia. Now, if you've not heard of this band, I recommend checking out uh, Dig Your Roots, killer rock and roll band. Um, they've got they've got a vaguely garagey background, but all kinds of you shut it. All kinds of killer rock and roll influences and super powerful vocals. Yeah, you're in for a treat when you hear this lady sing. Now, you can check out Soraia on December 9th. It's 2021 if you're watching presently. At Kingsland in Brooklyn, New York. And they have a couple singles coming out in January and February of 2022. One of those singles is their cover of My Sharona by The Knack, which is killer. And that song's got a killer break in the middle. So I'm interested to see what they do with that. And then they've got a co-write coming out, a song coming out was co-write with Little Steven. I hope you enjoy this conversation as much as I did. Super fun. It was the second time we recorded it. We had some technical difficulties. So I'm still learning how to use this platform. Hopefully, I'm going to knock it out of the park in one of the next couple episodes. So thanks for hanging in there with me. It's mostly looking better. I'm still figuring out some of the weird compression crap. Newsflash, I'm not a genius. So, thank you so much for watching, listening. Thank you to the folks who support Couch Riffs on Patreon. I cannot thank you enough. I'm 1 year into this now, and finally, the cost of doing the podcast is not coming out of my pocket, which might seem menial, but it's actually quite a bit of money. So I've got that stress lifted off me because of your support, and I really appreciate it. Thank you so much. And I'm able to pay Don Gunn for mixing the cover songs also. So thank you so much. Paid that man today because you. Thank you. I really appreciate it. So if you want to support Couchriffs, please go to patreon.com/couchriffs. There it is. There are a bunch of different tiers. You can support at whatever level you like. We've got 15 videos coming out at that I'm working on at any given time. So there's a lot of work happening. I would like to take this opportunity to thank our sponsor, Variety Coffee Roasters in Brooklyn, New York. They've got 8 cafes around Brooklyn and New York, the city, Manhattan. And what I want to talk to you about is, first of all, that's the only place where you can get a Couchriffs coffee mug. These are co-branded coffee mugs, classic diner style coffee mugs. They're $10 at their website. Or if you buy 2 bags of coffee off their website and use the code Couchriffs, all one word, you get your mug for free. Boom. While you're over there, check out their subscription service. I'll ask you a few questions. How do you like to make your coffee? How often do you want your coffee? And then they'll just send it to you. Boom, just like that. Subscription. That's what subscription means, if you didn't know. So check out Variety Coffee Roasters. I drink it every single morning. So I wouldn't steer you towards some bullshit, okay? Thank you so much for listening, watching, sharing, subscribing, all of that. We're winding down 2021. 2021 has been a insanely productive year for me, and I really appreciate all the support. So thank you. Don't forget the golden rule: treat people the way you want to be treated. Don't be a fucking asshole. Now I know to instruct people to. I don't even know. Does it tell you how much is uploaded as it's happening on your end?
Yeah, right now I see 0% uploaded, but it's recording.
Yeah.
Oh, now
Okay.
it says 23% uploaded. Like
Yeah,
it's
good.
shooting around.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So For people who are listening to us right now, you're hearing us talk about the video and audio footage that we're capturing right now being uploaded as we record it. So this is our second conversation. This is a redo because we had some technical folly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, good. It's a fine Monday. You guys
Yeah.
had a show this past weekend.
We did. We had a Black Friday show in Philadelphia. That's our hometown. So it was mobbed. It was really good. It was really good.
Nice,
It was good
nice.
because I've found that like a lot of shows since quarantine have either been mobbed, almost empty. It's like it's a strange thing in the clubs. So and it depends on where you are. So it's like it's
Right.
nice when it's a big hometown crowd. Everybody was happy to be there. It was the first time there in 2.5 years. So
Is that right?
yeah.
The first time
Uh,
you played in Philadelphia in 2.5 years?
well, that place was not yet open in July when we did our first Philly area show. So we did like outside Philadelphia, but we still did really well, and a lot of those people came. But this is a bigger venue, and it's just somewhere we consider our home base because we've played there
Yeah.
probably the last 5 years. So yeah, we love it there, and they have a new sound system, and it's ridiculously good. So
Oh, that's nice.
yeah, it was a great show. Great
Do you
show.
guys play on stage? Are you doing old school wedges, monitor wedges, or are you using in-ears?
No, we're using wedges, and actually, my big acquisition for the new year is in ears for me because it's just I found like the clubs that have really good monitors, it works, and the good sound engineer, and then you might go to another club and not have that, so it's just too inconsistent, which affects the show for me. Yeah.
I got some this year, and it was after doing a show with bad in-ears, so I bought myself some medium sort of quality ones. But I have a lot of hearing damage,
Yeah. From the
and
wedges.
just from cymbals, loud guitar, mostly cymbals, I think.
Yep.
Um, in the practice room, I probably sustained more damage, hearing damage in the practice room than on the stage.
Same.
Do you do anything to protect your hearing in the practice room?
Absolutely. I have the eargasm.
Yeah.
There's actually the ones I'm using now aren't eargasm. I don't know what they are. They're a fan of ours got them for me when he saw I was struggling on stage and pulling him in and pulling him out because that's what I have to do. It's like I can't hear some songs and I stick them back in. He's like, try these, and I was like, my first thought is they're not going to work. I need in ears, but they have ones that have like a green backing that have so it still lets the sound in, but it really protects. So I use that on stage and in the rehearsal room because it's too loud. It's too loud otherwise. And even when you're fixing, you start out and everybody's one level. It's like certain songs people just turn up or you know what I mean? It's just natural. And I think
Right.
so it's got to be proactive for your own hearing. Yeah, I definitely ever since I came back from quarantine, I knew I needed in ears because the show's inconsistent too. Because then I'm pushing sometimes, and then I'm going out of key, and I'm not. I don't want to do that anymore. So you know what I mean? Like we're in a different
They're at a place, I
stage.
mean, they're they're so good now
Hmm.
that it's not, I don't know, it just doesn't suck. It's killer.
Yeah,
I don't know how else to say it.
not
Doesn't
sucking is
suck.
good.
Doesn't suck. It's killer. And when something is killer and doesn't suck, it's worth doing. Also, it's just better for your health, for your hearing, and I wish that I was smart enough to do this years ago.
Yeah. Yeah, I still think like we've been playing clubs since 2007. So, I mean, that's 14, 13 years really if you don't count that year and a half off. Like it's just it's definitely there's been damage done, but so far so good. So I have still can hear things. I definitely need subtitles on the movies though,
My- yeah,
which
same.
says something and something's gone.
Oh man, my friend Guffey swears that he used to have tinnitus and he got acupuncture and it cured it.
Hmm. I mean,
Now, you know anything about this?
I do not. I did acupuncture once. I'm not against it. I'm not against doing it again, but it freaks me out a little bit. When I got it, I just saw all the things sticking out of me.
Oh,
Something.
you can't move.
No.
If you move, it's just like sends that shock right up you. It put me to sleep.
Did it put you to sleep?
Yeah.
Well, that's a good thing, right?
I mean, I fall asleep at the drop of a hat.
Oh, well.
I'm like
You,
borderline narcoleptic.
I was going to say, do you naturally fall asleep at the drop of a hat? Maybe it's just
No,
with.
no, no, no. It's just like if it's stop time, then it's stop and complete shutdown, and when it's go time, it's go.
God, I am really jealous of that.
I
But
get
then again, no, I'm not, because actually I could just completely pass out
yeah.
for a really long period of time. Like I'm pretty good. Like for instance, the other night we played the show, right? And we come back and I'm tired, and I think there's like a period you're talking to people afterwards, and you're like, I'm done. Like the energy's just gone. Like
Right.
you're done, and you're like, okay, I have to go. And you get home, and I was like sitting here, I'm like, I'm gonna fall right asleep. Nope, nope.
Oh,
Wide
is that
awake.
right? You're still running on adrenaline fumes.
I
Is it
think my
always like that?
not always. If we're on tour and it's night after night, it's no. I could drink a million gallons of coffee. I'm still going to sleep. But I think like when it's a show that's like it was a one off. Like the last show was a week before that, so it was like, we played this show. It was a lot of people, a lot of excitement. I find I think a lot afterwards. Like my brain's thinking like, oh, I was winded at this part. Maybe I should move those in the set, or maybe I shouldn't hop around so much on the song before that, or like it's like my natural
Right.
kind of, and I don't have judgments of it. It's just like noticing, but there's like an attack of thoughts, so it's like,
That's very yoga of you.
is it? That makes me feel really good, because I was like, I don't beat myself up, you know what I mean? Like I just think about like, like I kind of observe past after the show's over, so
Right.
I like it.
So I think it's probably safe to say on tour you are not the night driver if there's a night drive involved.
No, no, oh no. Especially highways. I don't know if you've driven at night on highways, but it's just like boom, the one line just goes by and by and by, and it's the same pattern, so it's almost hypnotizing. So I'm like, I can't drive at night at all. Like I'll fall asleep. Like band drive. Like if I'm driving to New York or something from Philly, that's a different story for some reason. But like on tour, I'm the morning. Like as soon as daybreak happens, that's my time to drive. And
I've
I could
done
drive all
so many
day.
hours on the 80 and the 90 going back and forth across the country. And I was always the night driver in the band.
See?
I did a lot of night driving. It's a great time to be the driver because you put on headphones.
Yeah,
The day drivers have to appease the other people in the van
that's true.
with the music. So, you can have that rule, whoever's driving gets to pick the music, and that's usually the unspoken, the unwritten rule or whatever.
Uh-huh.
But you're never going to please everyone, and there's always going to be someone that's unhappy, and it's just like, so the night driving was great because I had to put on headphones and listen to whatever I wanted.
That's right. Our
Yeah.
our old tour manager used to do that. He drove when we had an RV.
We talked about this. That was a
Yes, we did.
terrible idea, right?
It's the worst idea you could ever have as a band. Don't get the RV. It just consistently breaks down. You know what, Mike, though? Your video went out for some reason.
Yeah, I think that your what here's the thing. Don't worry about
Okay.
it
Oh, there you are
because
again. Okay.
even though what we're seeing, like your image is also really blurry, but
Is it?
what uploads is good because I'm
Okay.
just seeing like stream,
Okay.
but it's recording on your end and it's
Yes.
uploading immediately, so it's like
Yes. It's okay. Good. Good. I didn't want to like interrupt, but at the same time, I was like, I
oh
hope
yeah,
this isn't messing.
that's one reason why I switched over to this platform. Yeah.
It's better.
If you know the rules, it's better. I didn't know the rules the first time.
Fair enough. You live and you learn.
Yeah.
But you know what? To go back to what you're saying about night driving, that makes sense because it's true. During the day, a lot of times I feel like as the driver, I should be able to listen to what I want to listen to, right?
Yeah, no, that's a
Mm,
it's a good rule.
yeah.
Any band with inner political diplomacy, that can like govern themselves responsibly and maturely,
Yeah.
that's the rule.
That is the rule. It seems to be in the morning, though, especially everybody wants to turn you on to some new artist they found or some song they found, or they want to talk, And I'm even at home, I'm just very quiet in the morning. It's just so it's a whole new thing. So you're right. It does come with its curse, the
Are you
morning
a coffee
driver.
person?
Oh, yeah. Oh, forget it. Yeah.
When you get coffee high in the morning, do you get coffee high?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, it's great.
Yeah.
When you get coffee high, uh, do you do you find your inspiration for the day, or do you find productivity in that time, or is it just sort of like get something to get you rolling into your day?
I think when I'm home, like I right away get into like I try to do like in the morning a meditation and then I get into like work. But sometimes I find my mind's already started before I got out of bed. So the coffee then is just to get me into the day. You know what I mean? And it just kind of is the assist. If I'm on the road and I'm drinking coffee, I have a lot
Yeah.
to say, but it's not like running. It sounds like running of the mouth, probably just the speed at which I talk, but it's a lot of ideas come. And I find when I'm driving or I'm in the shower, anywhere where it's like a monotonous activity, I get ideas for songs. I
Yeah.
hear people better. I hear when they're talking to me, I'll hear a line of a song. Um, I'm just more aware. So I think on the road, coffee gives me that a little adds to the awareness. I wouldn't say gives it to me, but it adds to it.
Okay, I have like 10 questions that sprouted into my head from the things that you just said.
That's good.
I'll try to remember
Right?
them all. Do you glean lyrics from actual conversations that you have? Do
Oh,
you
yeah.
like you hear a sentence or the way someone turns a phrase
Hmm. All the
and
time.
you'll cop that? Do you carry a notebook or do you do that on your phone?
I do it on my phone because it's random, but I notice if I'm in a writing habit where I'm like writing, I've started writing. For me to get into writing takes a lot when I haven't been writing, but once I start writing by song two or three, now I'm in the writing mode and then I hear things all the time.
Right.
Where all the time I'll hear something like now I feel like I can be a little bit at rest because we just finished writing an album and writing a couple more songs and now it's like okay I'm off December in my mind I'm off. That's how I do it. And but I still somebody will say something like a friend of mine once said, I was in this black mood and I was like, black mood, that's a great title line for a song. Put it away and ended up writing it like 6 or 7 months later. And
Right.
I did write it in my phone and I just was going through kind of looking because I'll just have random things written down. And then there's other times, like I heard somebody say, I was like walking through a minefield in my head. And that was the first line of the song "Still I Rise." I put that in there. I was walking through the minefields in my head.
Right.
So it just comes, and then I just notice when I look back at it, when I have the note, if I'm just looking through it for a song idea or just something, all of a sudden the one thing will pop out at me as magic, and I have to follow it.
Right.
But maybe it was more magic at the time it was said, but I put it in my phone and it's looked at later, you
Is
know.
that a practice that you learn because you've done songwriting with a handful of folks and
Hmm.
some well-known folks?
Hmm.
Um, is that a practice that you learned through those experiences or something that you just sort of thought was a good idea?
I just thought it was a good idea, and I heard things like my whole life like that. Like I always heard, like somebody would say something, and it was to me like very artistic, very unique. So it just would stick out to me. And like I said, also when I'm driving or I'm in the shower, all of a sudden ideas come to me there too. When I'm not trying to, usually when I don't want an idea is when it comes. But those people, like I sat down with John Bon Jovi, and he just wrote in that moment. Like that's when the ideas come. That's when You know what I mean? And, Steven Van Zandt, when I wrote with him, both these people, though, when I wrote with them, I already had the initial idea. But I remember the last one or two times I wrote with John, we had nothing. We just went to the room and started. And
Yeah.
and when I wrote with this guy Billy Falcon, who I think is like the most prolific person I've ever written with. Just constantly, he'll just write. I remember I went to him in Nashville, and I met him through John Bon Jovi. Wrote songs with him since like the '90s or '80s or something, and he's actually more of a country writer now, but he writes all styles of songs. But I remember going to him and just wanting to kind of study the craft at the time, like the craft of writing, not just when I have a good idea and how I write, but just see another approach to it. And he would start writing from a conversation. We just start talking, and then the title line would come or the first line would come, and we just get to work. Like, but it was for him, it had to be natural, and I like that because I
Right.
feel like, but I like having a starting point. You know what I mean? Like when I sit down in a room with somebody, I want to have something or some ideas, before I go in there, and then talk about them, and whatever comes naturally, follow that, But I think with him, it was like we'd write, and then I was like, oh, we're done a song. And I'd be like, okay, let's talk more. And then we talk more, and then another song would come. And then, like, I remember this is like the first day I wrote with him. Then he had a show that night. I went to see him at his show. We went back. He's like, I have an idea for another song. I was like, are you kidding me? Like, I would like to go to sleep. But we ended up starting another one. That was like the most I ever wrote in a day. It was like two and a half, almost three songs.
Side question: do you think that's his real name,
Billy
or is that a
Falcon?
is that
No.
a pen name,
I
stage
think
name?
that's a pen name. I think
Cool
probably the
name.
first name, right? He's a
Cool
great
name.
writer. I mean, he's just I don't think the best writers just let it happen. Like they're not judging, you have that second
Right.
voice that's always judging what's coming out. Like I think he just does it so much it's gone for him. Like he trusts, because I asked him, I remember the first time I talked to him, and I said, I really just want to learn to write. I feel like I'm a songwriter, but I don't believe I can call myself that. I said, how did you know you were a songwriter? He's like, I just knew I was. You just know you are, and then just go with it. It's nothing's wrong or right. And that was probably the best thing I'd heard to that point that made me feel like, okay, there's not some like secret code magic way to write. You just sit down and write. And I was thinking recently, my God, I'm like a songwriter. Like I know how to write a song. Like I'm not afraid to sit in a room with somebody and start with nothing or start with an idea. You know what I mean? Because when it's the right people, it's easy. When it's somebody who's like not, I think the less experience they have with it, the harder it is to write because they have all those demons coming in to fight the
Right.
ideas, you know, or to fight or an ego about how much they're writing. And I get that because I had it too, but
And you
not anymore.
do primarily you do partner writing.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
all the time.
Yeah, that's great.
Never have written on my own. I wrote my first song ever on my own when I was probably 11 years old.
Uh-huh.
It's called
Do you have
Push
a
It.
recording of it?
No, no, no,
Do you remember
no,
it?
no. I just remember it's called Push It, and I was so upset that Salt and Pepper had a song called Push It, but it was called Push It, and it was basically a lot of rhyming because I thought that's what a song was. But I
Yeah,
mean,
of
to know
course.
at like 11, I wanted to write songs is
Well, that's how
kind of
you learn
cool.
poetry in grade school, right?
Yep, rhyme.
Roses are red, all this kind of this stuff,
I was
you
actually
know?
trying to remember the poem when you said it, and I only know the next line. I was like, what's the rest of it?
I just remembered because we're talking about practices and habits. You sort of breezed over your morning routine when we were talking about coffee, and you said that you would have a meditation.
Hmm.
Do you meditate? You meditate.
Yes.
What kind of meditation do you practice, and how did you get into that?
Well, I find that I have strong anxiety if I don't do it. And the more I don't do it, I'm not in the habit. I notice I get more and more like I'll wake up and immediately feel, I wouldn't say nervous, but I'd say like a little more fearful than, oh, what's the day going to bring. It's more like, oh my God, what's going to happen today. And I don't like feeling that way. So I started meditating 20 minutes a day. I didn't start out that long. Now I do 20 minutes, and I'll just sit there. And if nothing happens, nothing happens. But I try to just quiet them. It's always different. Sometimes I try to practice breathing. There was a time with my vocal teacher where she was teaching me breathing with the tongue, like with a rounded tongue. So I was trying to do that because it does something. I forget what it is now because it's been like a year or two since she taught me that. But it was like 26 times of like doing something. And I tried that, and then I found it didn't last for me. What seems to be the common, most general way I meditate is I'll set my time for 20 minutes, shut everything off. Like my phone's off, it's morning time. I try to do it before I get to anything. Like I'll get my cup of coffee and I'll sit. I've never done it before coffee. Now that I'm telling you this, I was like, maybe it's better to do it before coffee. I don't know if I have the discipline to do it before coffee, but
Right.
yeah, it's usually like an attack of like a bunch of thoughts if I'm not in the habit, and then I just wait for it to settle down. I try to like let each idea pass instead of get immersed in it, which is like when you're practicing that, it's easier to do that when you're feeling reactive. You can kind of let
Sure.
the thought pass and be like, okay, this isn't life ending. Like I'm not in danger. Like, you know what I mean?
As
But my
far as you
reactions,
know.
yeah, maybe it is, but I won't think so. So it's okay. But yeah, I just always try to do 20 minutes unless like I'm running late, then I'll do as long as I can. But like I said, like there was this last little bit of time since we went to Sweden in October, I really wasn't doing it. And I was like, I felt it. I felt the difference. And
Right.
so I started doing it as soon as I got home again, and I feel much better, much calmer.
How long has that been a part of your routine, and get how did you get started?
I think it's been, I'd say at least since 2014. And I got started because I'd gone through this breakup that was really hard on me, like really hard on me. Like it rocked every sense of like, and it wasn't a particularly bad breakup. Like nobody, it wasn't bad, but it was
Right.
the way it shook my foundation. I I realized something was different about that breakup than any other one, and I realized I talked to a lot of people at that point, and I got a lot of help from people because I really think I struggled with my sense of self more than anything else. I felt not good enough. I felt like it hit me hard, like in many areas of my life that I didn't even know I had issues with. And that could be a whole hour right there. So I'll just generalize and say that. And I realized if I didn't do something in the mornings, I was really, I mean, I can tell you, I was having a hard time getting out of bed. That's how anxious I would get. Like, I would get like, I couldn't even put 2 feet on the floor.
Getting
And
on
for,
stage or being in front of people and performing, like you can't have that stuff in your life, in your head, in your, it
no,
poisons everything.
it sure does.
Yeah.
So that 20 minutes has been like a lifesaver. And the people I met at that time, they're like some of my best friends today. Like they're my roots, that last album's called Dig Your Roots. That's like,
Yeah.
you got to really dig in there and you keep them, no matter how busy or whatever's going on in your life, or you never trade them in for something else. Cause I think I was doing that, not consciously, but I was doing that when I got into relationships, and I would never do that today. It was a life-changing and very, like, it was an epiphany and probably the best thing that ever happened to me. That breakup.
Well,
Now I realize. At the time it sucked, but like
yeah.
survived.
Sometimes the worst things we grow amazing vegetables in cow shit. I mean, come on.
I mean, that's what it's all about. That's kind of like such a metaphor for like everything. It's like you start to realize, like, okay, yeah.
Yeah.
And everything's not the end of the world anymore, which I think it was before I was meditating. Like everything was very black and white.
Were you using a guided voice or app or
I did for a moment, but not only because one of my friends suggested it to me, but it didn't last. I liked it because it was very much about breathing, and I think I got calmer. Now that you're bringing it up, I might do it again. I think it was called Calm. actually. But it was nice. It was like a free app that you just counted you down, and it just kind of reminded you nothing. There's no right or wrong way again.
Sure.
Like there's no right or wrong way to write a song. There's no right or wrong way to meditate. Just show up for it and see what happens. But like I know this, like I put the practice in and I get results no matter if I had a hard time calming my mind or if it didn't calm and I just couldn't do it long enough. It's as if I just show up and do it, I reap the rewards from it. So yeah, so I'd say that Calm app is really good. But other than that, I kind of just sit, you know, I don't even focus on something. I don't say like a word. I just sit.
Right.
Mm.
No, I think it's something I've thought about a lot lately, and yeah, awesome. I'll look into that app.
Yeah, try it. It's really good.
I know that. So far, we're a lot of what we're talking about. We didn't cover in our previous conversation, but for the sake of the listener, I want to talk about some of the stuff that we already talked about, including your first singing experience, which I thought was really awesome,
Yeah.
and and sort of how that made you feel and where it went from there. Would you
Yeah.
mind telling that story?
No, I love telling that story. I was in second grade, and I have actually an addition to that story that I didn't have last time we spoke.
Perfect.
Isn't that awesome? See, it was
Yeah.
meant to be. Because the other night I watched Miracle on 34th Street, the original
Yeah.
from 1937,
What
and
what
there's
was the remake?
more recent. There was one in the 80s or 90s or maybe 2000s. I don't
Probably
really know
one with
what when it's
Macaulay Culkin or something.
probably. I never watched it, so I don't know what. But I saw like you see on the little streaming like there's a very new one, there's a very not new one, there's a
Right.
really old one.
Yeah.
So of course I went with the old one because I love the old movies. But there's one part where he's singing in Dutch, and my mother was spoke Flemish. She was from Belgium, so my mother used to sing me Saint Nicholas de Capuncia, which was a Dutch Santa Claus song, and they sang it in
Oh,
this movie, and it reminded me. I was like, oh my god, my mother, when I was in kindergarten, came and taught my kindergarten class the song Saint Nicholas Capuncia, and we all learned it and we did it in the play. I still remember this play, and I
wow.
forgot this until I watched this the other night. It's like we sang on stage when I was in kindergarten, like, and I was really excited. My mother wasn't there actually. I think my grandmother had passed away, so my mother didn't make it, and I was a cowboy or cowgirl, whatever. I was a cow person in this play, and my mother didn't get to see me, and I sang the song, but so I realized I sang before second grade because I was like, I don't know where the idea to sing got in my head ever. And I thought, well, my mom would sing to me and taught me music. But my parents were not musicians. Their parents were not musicians. There's no musicians in my family anywhere to speak of except me. But my nephew, my dad's first marriage, from his first marriage, his son is a writer. He's in college and he started writing, so he wants to be a writer. So I'm like, okay, there it is. There's one. I found one, you know.
Right.
But like other than that, I don't. There's no musicians in my background. And in second grade, I had heard this song. My mother had a 45 of um, this song called "You Light Up My Life," and I wanted to sing it in front of people really badly. Why? I don't know. It's not like I'd seen it somewhere. I just thought this is a song I want to sing on stage. So I did. Like later that year, I after school every day I came home and I used to rock too. Like I'd do this a lot. Like I'd do this growing up, which my parents were really embarrassed about, and they asked me to not do that. But I was like, oh, I don't see anything wrong with it. So I do it now. So, but I learned the song, I memorized the song, and I sang it with this girl, Corinne, in second grade. And I had my arm behind my back the whole time. Like, I can't show you, but it's like I was holding the one and just like this. And the
Right.
mic was all the way like way above our heads. I don't know if anybody heard us.
It's like
But
Lemmy style.
yeah, yeah. But I didn't know to do anything then. I just
You.
was like, I was just like, you light up my life, like just straight, and the mic was up there. But I got through it, and it was terrifying. And there's a picture of me coming off stage, like I'm just smiling. It's And I still feel that way. It's like I still get a little bit of that, like, are the people out there? How many people are out there? Like,
Right.
before I go up, and then I get off stage and I feel like $1,000,000 happy. So
Did you and you continued from that day consistently or no?
no, I did not. I remember everybody in my school would get like parts, singing parts, but they had these like really high voices. They were considered sopranos, and I
Right.
absolutely was not that. So some people called me alto, some people called me mezzo alto. All I knew was I had a darker, deeper, huskier voice, and I thought that meant I wasn't a singer. So I kind of just made it mean I'm not a singer. I never told you this part though. I when I was 11 and I wrote that song, I sang a song, and I don't remember what song it was, but I recorded it and I sent it to one of the record labels. And I thought, if I hear back from them by the end of the summer, it's meant to be. And if I don't, then it's not meant to be. And I didn't hear back from them. So I decided I wasn't a singer. So by the time high school hit, I was like, I'm going to be a drummer. And by the time I was a sophomore in high school, I'm like, I'm going to be in a touring band. Because I think I told you we
Yeah.
started touring like the malls and nursing homes. I was like,
No, it's
this is
awesome.
it's amazing. But
Did
yeah,
you enjoy to play the drums?
I did. I still love playing drums. I'm just
Do you
not great at it. I mean, I can keep a
Mhm.
beat and I can go through. I mean, I don't practice it anymore.
Right.
There was a period during COVID, during the quarantine, that I was practicing drums. Though I had to play Foo Fighters' "Best of You." You know that drum
Oh
part?
yeah.
It's like that's
Yeah.
it. I could do that, but then there's this whole part where it just goes off. I'm like, can't do that, and gave up again. So I don't have the discipline I do with singing with drums. Like I won't sit down now and because I don't want to. I want to be the singer. So if I still wanted to be the drummer, I would work harder at it.
Are you hard on drummers because of your experience with drums?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
I I feel bad for drummers because they if your drummer I say this on almost every episode. If your drummer sucks, your fucking band sucks.
yes, it
I
does.
don't
That's
care how
right.
good the songs are. I don't care how good the rest of the
Absolutely.
band is. I don't care.
Totally, totally agree.
And
Totally
if you,
agree.
and it doesn't have to be technical chops. It can be vibe. You know, it can be loose. It can be all these other things, but it has to have like it has to have some kind of quality.
Yeah.
If your drummer sucks, your band sucks. And
Yep.
so because everyone knows that, I hope, I drummers really are just like the stepchildren of every band. And there's a part of every single one of us that also secretly wants to be the drummer
That's right.
because they're kind of in charge of what happens.
Listen, my drummer, I shouldn't say my drummer because she always tells me this story of Mick Jagger and
Oh,
Charlie
yeah, that's
Watts.
a good one.
And so I'm really careful when I say it. I said, our drummer, the drummer for Soraia, is really good. She's solid. She's hits hard. And she actually, it's so funny because she said this to me the other day. She goes, yeah, I can tell if you're getting tired. So I know to pull back a little bit. And I'm like, you listen to if I'm, she's like, I can hear when you're like, we started too fast.
Yeah.
She goes, so I slowly pull it back. I'm like, and I never notice it. And you don't notice it when you watch back. She's very conscious of the song. I don't think I've ever worked, and we've worked with some good drummers, but none is like she gets it. Like she's really good for us. Like if we lost her, we'd be in a problem.
How long?
And she's been here a while, so
What is her name and how long she been with the band?
Brianna Sig, and she's been with us since 2016. So
Awesome.
5 years, yeah. And she played with us on shows before that when our other drummer was, like, she was the sub, you
Yeah.
know.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
So you did enjoy to play the drums, but it was just not meant to be.
No, not for
Yeah.
me. I mean, I really wanted to be a drummer by the time I hit high school, and I worked hard at it. Like, I took lessons in school, I took lessons out of school, I played with bands. I remember playing with this band, and we were trying to get into what at the time was the Khyber in Philadelphia, and we never did
Right.
because I got involved in other things, extracurricular activities that took me away from music. Um, but we were like, by the time I was a senior in high school, we were playing. Like, I was rehearsing all the time. Yeah.
Is Kyber the place with this? Is it upstairs?
Yeah, it used it. Well, Kyber had the downstairs. No, the upstairs. I think you're talking about Kung Fu Necktie. They have an upstairs and a downstairs. Kyber, are you talking about? But Kung Fu Necktie only came around in, I'd say, the 2010s.
Oh,
So Kyber was around in the 2000s, in the 90s.
yeah. I think that's. I played a place in Philly that was upstairs and
It
kind of
might
had a
have.
ballroom feel, but the stage was on the side. It was really kind of a shallow room.
That still sounds like Kung Fu Necktie for some reason. But
Yeah.
when I played Kyber, they had only bands downstairs, and the green room was upstairs.
It
And
was.
there was
I
a bar
remember
upstairs.
it
There
was
was like a
walkable to the TLA because I had only played in Philly once before
to
and
the
had played at the
TLA.
TLA at the
That's on South.
theater. Yeah, what is that?
Kyber is walking distance to TLA for sure. Yep.
Yeah,
It's the Fillmore now, but it's still the TLA. Everybody calls it
right.
TLA. But yeah, isn't that weird? It only recently became the Fillmore, by the way.
You can only one thing you can count on, and that is everything will change. You
That's so
know,
true.
just will.
So true.
Uh, I thought it was when we spoke before, we went in at length about your first career, and I'd like to at least touch on it because I think it's super interesting and also a really admirable career choice. Although I know I have friends who do it, and they are really taxed, heavily
Yeah.
emotionally, physically taxed.
Hmm.
And you were a school teacher.
Hmm. Yeah.
Will you tell us a little bit about? We don't have to
Sure.
spend as much time on it. We spent a
I
bit
don't
of
mind.
time on it before, but I really like that
I like
part of your
talking about it.
story.
Yeah, me too. I always found it because I loved, the Police, the song, like, when he says caught between Celia, what is it, Celia and Charybdis and Celia. I forget which one how he orders the words, but I was like, what the hell is he talking about? Like, then I was like, he was an English teacher. He's talking about mythology, being stuck between a rock and a hard place. It's Celia and Charybdis were the two.
Right.
I love it. It's just like only a school teacher would put that in a song. And it's funny because we just wrote a song called Mephistopheles, which is really about Faust, which I never actually read the whole thing, but I know who Mephistopheles is because I had a preoccupation because it's so much like the story of the Crossroads, like selling your soul to the devil so you can play guitar. It's the
Right.
exact same story, but just different characters.
Yeah, different setting.
Yeah, different setting, but the same story told over and over. But I, I feel like in some way, being an English teacher for high school got me ready for being on stage. Because one of the first things when your last semester in college when you go for education is you have to spend that whole last January to May, or September to December, whichever one you're doing. For me, it was September to December in a high school setting and teaching. So, and that was like terrifying. Um,
Is public speaking also? I would assume there's public speaking courses as required curriculum.
I didn't have it.
Really?
No.
No public speaking class requirements to get a teaching degree. That is fucking incredible to me.
Right. What I did, I'm trying to remember. We had educational psychology. So, even if I knew I wasn't going to be in secondary education, but I still had to take ed psych for, developmental, how children develop, how they learn,
Yeah.
like tactile. When are they tactile? When are they start having ability to retain? I mean, there's it would be great for parents to know all this stuff because like, and then we'd have to go and do papers weekly and like pick toys that we would do for our class. And I was like, this is stupid. I'm not teaching kids. I'm going to teach high school. But it was really helpful because when I got to high school, you could see that some people still were those types of learners. Some were very visual. Like for me, I'm a very visual learner. Like piano is easy for me, whereas guitar is difficult. It's like I need to see the black and white keys and stuff. Um, so there's all styles of learners, but I had two ed psychs and they were all about the behaviors of learners and what like affects them, and the basics like natural curiosity, getting people to be curious about things so they would want to learn how, like, and there's all sorts of stuff about behavior. But there was never like one where you were in front of a class until I got in front of a class. And I can tell you, and I was English content area, so we had a ton of like English classes. Like I knew like everything. But
Yeah.
but poetry was always my weakness before I started teaching. And then I started teaching and I became really into poetry. But I was always terrified of poetry because I didn't understand it. I find that it's mostly the teacher, like there's already a learning block if you're teaching them a type of language they don't, you know what I mean? Or they're not going to
Sure.
practically use. So you want to speak to them like, I remember when I was teaching poetry, I started with the current songs, like whatever was current, and looked for metaphors and things like that in them and tried to show them that songwriters use them. So that was cool. You know what I mean? But stuff like that. But so I'm like tooting my own horn. That's such a weird thing to say. But anyway, I am. But yeah, so my first time in front of like a class, I like had a meltdown. Like I got in front of this, it was a group of sophomores, American literature, and I was teaching Robert Frost, the road not taken, which is a poem.
Uh-huh.
The road less traveled is a book, but the road not taken is the poem. And I'd known this poem my whole life. It was easy, but I got in front of them and I looked at them, and there was only like 25 of them. It wasn't like this huge class of 250 or anything. And I looked at them and I started teaching, and I was like, you know what? Just reread the poem. I'll be right back. And I went to the bathroom and I just cried. And I was like, what are you doing? Like, you can't be a teacher. You can't even get up in front of people. Like in high school, I couldn't get up in front of, I wouldn't sleep for days if I knew I had to do a presentation. Like I was
Right.
shy. Like I could not. And I remember looking in the mirror being like, and talking to myself, being like, why are you doing this? Why did you pick this profession? Like, what's the matter with you? Like,
Let
that was
me
my
ask you
first time.
this. Do you, to draw a parallel, do you find that it is the intimacy of performing for a smaller crowd where you can see the expression on every single person's face is more challenging than playing to a theater of people,
Oh
though?
yeah. Yeah. For me, yeah.
So in that
And
moment, your experience was very much similar.
I think so. I think also there's this tendency, at least for me, to try to read. And I think that's what makes a great performer because you're reading your audience in a sense. But when you overread them and you take things esteem wise instead of having confidence and knowing you're just doing what you do and just trying to read what they want or what they need, it's just different. I think that's the part where, like, had I not had that experience, I would not. And now I went back out and I finished and I was fine. After that, I was fine and I excelled and I enjoyed it. But I had to have
You
that
never had
first.
an experience like that again.
No,
That's good.
it was awful. I mean, I thought I was like, you just spent 4 years to become this thing that you can't do. Like I really felt that way that day.
Well, being
And
able to read a room is a curse if you're bombing.
yeah, that's for sure. Then you're
they
just gonna
say
get through it.
they say ignorance is bliss,
It
and I would have to
sure is.
agree.
Yeah, yeah. And at this point, I'm like, if they don't like us, it's okay. I'm just gonna do what I do. But there's
Right.
that's not usually the case. There's
Right.
usually people that like you, and usually the
Yeah.
people there like you and they're there because they like you. But that was a lot of time before that happened, so there's a lot of
So
people that didn't like us.
so on that
You know what I
on that
mean?
subject, have you've done a lot of touring now at this point in the band's career? Have you had any like particularly challenging shows where when you got through it you just thought, thank God we got through that. I hope that never happens again. Either because maybe you were ill fit for the bill. It was. I feel like I probably never had a good fit bill, so a lot of my
You never
opening
had a good.
slots, no, opened up for Motorhead in Germany, and it's just like, yeah, it doesn't matter who you are, they don't want to fucking hear you. You know,
Yeah,
they're there for Motorhead. It's
yeah,
uh I imagine that opening for AC/DC is probably similar. Like,
yeah,
doesn't matter who you are, nobody wants to hear you.
yeah. It's
They're
like
there
that
for
opening for Bon
AC/DC.
Jovi.
Oh,
You're
did
just in the way,
and you've
really.
done it.
Yeah, I've done it
Yeah.
several times. Now, we got a lot of like lifetime fans from those shows though. Like people who just absolutely adore us. But that first whole if you don't I don't even look at them when I would open for him because they don't want you there. They want you out of the way cuz he usually doesn't have openers too. So it was like and I remember hearing horror stories about it. So I was prepared for the worst and I just looked well past
Was that
cheap
your trick?
seats.
Someone told me before, like, look at look over the heads of the crowd and straight back at the flat surface of the first deck. Look
Yep.
at that, because then it looks like you're looking at the crowd and nobody feels like, you're not going to make people feel disconnected. You won't get self-conscious, and you whatever, you make it
Yeah.
through.
Well, if I ever have moments on stage where I get like a weird, like if I just caught somebody and it just looks like they, or I'm in a bad headspace, whatever human thing is going on that you just have no control
Someone's
over.
like looking at their
Yeah,
phone.
yeah, or that. Oh, I must be boring. Like it's all, but like I just look back, and it's funny because I was thinking the other night I ran to the stage and it was packed all and Milk Boy's a long room, so it goes all the way back. But the lights, you can't see past, I'd say that first, I'd say like maybe 10 feet or so.
Yeah.
Maybe 20 feet, 20 feet. Because I'm thinking in very small terms because I'm looking at my apartment. Yeah, like 20 feet. You can't see past that with the lights because the lights are right on you. So I'm like, are they still here? So I get out and like have to look. I was like, who cares if they're still here? But I really wanted to know there's and like all the pictures, they were still there, but I did not see them. But when you're opening in a big venue like the Wells Fargo, I mean,
Yeah.
you see all the way to the back, and you're like, I got the cheap seats. If you can get the cheap seats, I feel that's an accomplishment.
I
I
think
go for the
so.
cheap seats personally.
We did talk about this before, but do you have a favorite size crowd to perform to? I like the 750 to 800 size rooms. Those are
Same.
my favorite because you can see everyone, and it's tight enough in a room like that. If there are people, it can also be ferociously isolating if there are not that many
Oh
people.
God. And it's so
I've done a
weird
lot
because
of
on
that.
one day I might think that's a great crowd. And then the next time it might be the same amount of people and I think it's awful. Like it really
Right.
it's like you got to keep your frame of mind right and it's impossible. Like there's no way you're going to do it every night. But I remember just opening for Joan Jett is always my favorite because I always see it's always the right amount of people. They're always into it. Like they're just, but there are those rooms that are like 800 to 1,000 people, like maybe 1250. I don't know, like the Basie is like one of the places and some places in Jersey and the Palace. We talked about the Palace in Albany too last time. They're I feel like I remember like before when I would go to a lot more shows, I like those size rooms even as an audience member. Like when I'm in those big concerts, even when I'm right on the side of a stage, which I've been there, it doesn't feel I
Well,
don't
the
enjoy it.
sound is usually better
Yeah.
because
Yeah, that's
there
true.
it's usually better, and every seat is a good seat. There's no shitty seat. And if
Mm-mm.
there's no shitty seat in a room, then it probably looks good from the stage too, and how it looks from stage affects everything.
Yeah. Yep. I
Mm.
love those sizes. I feel like it's just intimate. It's more it's like big, but it's still intimate. Like you can still have a connection with the people there. Like I just got tickets to see Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds, and I've never seen them
Oh.
before, ever.
W- Oh, really?
And I've wanted to see them. He's like one of those artists you can tell it's like almost a revival going on in his room. Like it's like some crazy like energy. Like I watched one of his live uh, a Nick Cave and the Bad Seed show on the flight home from California when everything had just closed because of COVID. So this was like March 15th of 2020, and I watched his
Right.
whole concert, and I was like, if I don't go see this guy soon, I don't know what's wrong with me. So I finally got tickets for March at the Beacon Theater in New York to go see him, and it's a smaller theater. And I was like,
Oh,
this is gonna be
yeah.
awesome.
No,
This is
that's
gonna
an
be awesome.
amazing room too.
Yep.
I've seen him a few times. My wife and I saw him in Brooklyn play, what is that theater called where they did the Beastie Boys thing?
Oh, I know what you're talking about because he's playing there too. Uh,
It's an incredible theater.
he's playing there
Anyway,
two
it's
nights.
fucking awesome. You will not regret that. We actually just saw that a friend of ours is playing like a festival date with him in London, and we're thinking about buying tickets and going.
Do it. I was thinking it's so weird. I was like, if he doesn't come to the States, I'm going to Amsterdam or wherever he's playing to
Yeah.
see him. That's how, and I've never seen the guy live. So I have no, it's just a feeling. Like I just was like, I need to see this person live for sure. Or I should say this person. I should see this artist and his band because he's also with Warren Ellis on this tour. But
Oh,
somebody was
yeah.
saying it's not a Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds. I'm like, no, it's definitely Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds. That's how it's titled. And
Hmm.
Warren Ellis is with him too. I was like, so I don't know if that's normally not the case or that he
Well,
does one or
Warren's
the
in
other.
the bad. Oh, yeah. Warren is fucking incredible. What an incredible musician. They have a. I mean, everything about it is awesome. It's a very well thought out, well paced show. It's incredible.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. No, you're gonna see people crying in the audience and just like it's pretty intense. It's
I
amazing.
feel like when I watched it on the video, I was like,
Congratulations, your
Jesus.
life is gonna change.
Yes, that's how I
Yeah.
feel. Thank you. Thank you.
Um. Here's something because we were just touching on it before we started getting off on Nick Cave. Just sort of the idea of like the feeling that you're getting off stage, and sometimes it's you people get on stage, you have to believe in what you're doing, otherwise you wouldn't do it, right?
Yeah.
And so um there's this constant pendular swing of emotions, like, okay, we're champs, let's go win the crown or whatever.
Right.
But what you get back, especially in opening slots, clubs, it's maybe easier because you have less expectation. It's a less of a grandiose experience, and it's less like what we see on TV and in movies and everything else. There's whether or not we feel this way, it's embedded in our mind, like, oh, we're on a big stage. But
Yeah.
opening is really hard. It's a great opportunity because it gives you the chance to be in front of a larger crowd than you would have on your own. But usually these are people who've never heard from you. They don't know who you are, so it's a it's the Olympics. Like, it's an Olympic trial, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
How
You have 20
do
minutes
you
usually.
Right. How do you reconcile all the difficult emotions that can creep in those situations, because it's a really difficult thing. Some people, I mean, I was never good at it. I That's why I'm sober now. Cuz I
Yeah,
dealt
me
with
too.
it really poorly.
Yeah.
Um but uh it's a thing that musicians, there's no career handbook. There's no high school career counselor that tells you how to do it. And people fuck it up really badly. And not a lot of careers have that sort of. just fucking emotional cheese shredder that just grate you to tiny bits and then load you back in the van.
Yeah.
How do you deal with it?
I think I've been lucky because I think we mentioned this when we talked before. Is I think it's either in your blood or it's not. You know, you wouldn't survive the very everybody goes through the failures, right? I don't think there's any artist. Maybe some have an easier road, but then they fall in front of a lot more people. You know what I mean? I think I don't think anybody gets out of it unscathed. And if it's not like in your system that it's just something that you realize you have to do, like, because I always say that I was like, you know, when I talk about the second grade story, I was terrified, but I had to do it. Like what? Like anything I'm terrified of, I try to avoid like the plague. So to go into a situation, have to do it, no matter how terrified you are. There's got to be something more to it, right? It's got to be in you. So I have a really strong belief that it's just in me, and no matter how bad some of the heartaches have been, there's been guides along the way, I'd like to say. Like there's been situations where, for instance, we were going to California for the first time to play shows, and the guitarist quit like right before. And then we played with this other guy out there, and it was fine. But then we came back, we didn't have a guitar
Wait a
player.
minute, you had a fill-in guitar player that played the show there, like he was a Californian?
Yes, he happened to be in California, and he was a friend of a guy who was producing us at the time. And he,
How many
we had a
rehearsals did you get?
one.
Yeah.
And what happened was, that's the show where all of a sudden Wes Scantlin heard our Wes Scantlin from Puddle of Mud heard our demo, because our demo girl was handing demos out to everybody. And he called me and he wanted to, you know, he ended up having a showcase for us a few days later at the Whiskey
Right.
with a sub player. So rock and roll is such a weird thing. So anyway, to get back to the original question,
What
and
do you
that's how
mean?
everything's. To get back to the original question, which I think was, how do you deal with, like, you know, when you're opening and there's no handbook for it? Like, I know I've opened and felt like when we opened for Bon Jovi, I felt like we flopped the first time and the second time, maybe the third time. Um, Stephen Van Zandt is such a great mentor in every way. Like, if I was more, when I first met him, I should have asked more questions, but I was scared. But he'll tell me, he'll be like, "Oh, why would you not do your single? Like, you have to do your single. And you have 20 minutes. You got to do songs that are more in the vein of the artist you're opening for." There was a part of me that felt like, why would I do that? I just want to do what we do. And if they don't like us, screw them. Like, you know what I mean? Like, no, that's not how it works, you idiot. Like, so it's like when I started kind of getting in touch with it, what I knew would work, and it wasn't like compromising who we are, it was just showing a little more light on this part of our music catalog. It was like, it worked, you know? And when I saw them giving back and enjoying themselves, that was a reward in itself. So then I'm like, well, if they're having fun, you know what I mean? Like, what do
Yeah.
I have to make it about anything else? So, you know, but that's after falling on your face a few times. But then the opportunity keeps coming because you just didn't quit, right? So, and I've wanted to quit, like, especially in those times when things just seem like, because I think your head is what works against you. You start thinking, well, they had it made, or they had this, you know. That's why I love the stories of, like, the docs, like the music docs, where it was just like they just did not have it good at all ever. Like, like, but they're huge now. But like, you know, I heard the story of the Dolls, the New York Dolls, that they're the album with like Personality Crisis and Jet Boy and all those did not even get um like, what's it called, when it sells like
Gold.
250,000 copies. Is that
Oh,
gold?
I don't know. Paper plate.
I don't know. Whichever the one
500,000
it
is
is.
gold.
Probably 500,000 or the next one, till
Yeah.
like 20 some years after it released.
Right.
It's like the Ramones all of a sudden became like, but when they were, you know what I mean? It's like, so who's to say, you know? And those kinds of things always make me go, it doesn't matter. Just be true to yourself. And I listen to Patti Smith would always say that, like, keep your name clean. And there's definitely periods I didn't keep my name clean, but it's like, you know what? Just do what you it's never too late to start over in that, like, so I've always just been like, well, and I used to, like, if a player quit, I made that the end of the world too. Now I'm like, whatever. Like, it's happened enough times. Like, what?
Right.
Like, somebody better always comes along. It's
Okay,
always somebody better. Like, almost
bye.
always. Yeah. Thanks for your commitment and time. On to the next one. But like, it's just, yeah, it's like you start realizing, like, if you stay in it, it's just part of the way it is, you know?
Right.
Nobody has it a different way than you just because they have more money or more fans. It's like,
Um, Last night, my wife and I watched the first episode of the new Beatles doc.
oh, get back
Yeah, and
on
it's
Disney.
the first episode is 2 hours and 37 minutes long. Have you watched any of it yet?
No, but I see the ad for it every time I turn on the Disney Channel. I'll tell you what, it's big and it's bold.
And the footage looks beautiful. I hear people kind of bemoaning the thing. You
Mm.
know, some of the footage was audio, like the story is sort of pieced together with actual video audio and then audio that has the the tapestry of some appropriate video. So it'll look like someone's talking. It's almost like in a music video when a part of the song is happening and they showcase the guitar player and they're ripping a solo, but they're not that's
Ripping
not the
us.
part of the song they're playing.
Yeah, yeah,
It's kind of like that, but the footage looks beautiful. It's
yeah.
long, but I what I think people are failing to recognize when they sort of grovel about this, because it's is it appropriately um demonstrates the vibe of being in a band room. And this is a band that had a lot of experience with one another and a
Hmm.
lot of
Hmm.
worldly experience and a lot of pressure, a lot of drugs. And it honestly, it reminds me of or Some Kind of Monster. Did you ever watch that movie?
No, what?
It's the
No.
Metallica documentary.
Wait, I think I did see parts of it when they go to the
Oh,
psychiatrist.
yeah, yeah, it's
Okay, I saw it.
incredible.
Yeah, yeah, I
And
saw parts of it. I saw parts.
I remember watching that movie and thinking, this is the best thing I've ever seen. And this makes me feel like the bands that I've been in aren't that crazy because look at these fucking guys. But all these stories about the Beatles like hating each other and this and that. I mean, there's definitely tension, but there is a lot of love in the room. It's amazing. I can't recommend watching it enough. But
I'll watch it. I've
there's
been
a
wanting to. I've seen a lot of people writing about it, and I'm like, I'm gonna eventually. When you see that, eventually you're gonna watch it, right? I um I was wondering how people would receive it because I didn't know anything about it because I haven't watched it, but I know most of the people I know venerate the Beatles. Like they were the reason they got into rock and roll, or they're the reason that they like Steven even is like that's the reason I
yeah.
the first time I saw them on TV was, and I hear many people say that it's not just him. A lot of people say it. So I and I do hear all like the stories of like they hate each other, Yoko Ono broke them up, this one, that one. But I being in a band for as long as I have, especially with the members being as and close and as long as you have, that is normal. Like you love each other, you have each other's back, but there's times you really, really don't like each other. And it's all different times, you know what I mean?
Show me a family sitting around family reunion where there's not at least an argument.
Yeah.
Like, come
That's
on,
just part of
you know?
human nature,
Yeah,
you know.
that's how it goes. But
I think just seeing them as a band is really a cool thing for somebody, especially people who've been in bands. You know what I mean? I think that's a really cool view of them. That's
watching
not.
the sort of the early versions of songs come together is really, really interesting. And you see the different character types that exist in almost every band.
Mhm.
And sometimes the hats change. but
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
great. It's great. You should watch it.
Yeah.
So so this is a whole long way of me getting around to talking about working out song ideas in the band room,
Mm.
because that's what almost the entire first episode is about.
Wow.
And it's, again, it's incredible. There 6 times throughout watching it, I just stopped and looked at my wife and said, "This is fucking amazing." And the hair on my arm was standing up. Uh, you know. So when you are writing with people outside of the band room and then you bring these ideas back to the band room, are arrangements worked out, or do you guys then take the bones of these songs and sort of personalize them?
Yeah, that I mean, everybody has to bring something to the table, or else it's not really a band. You know what I mean? Then it's a bunch of players. You have
Sure.
maybe the same players over and over again. But I think that is the one thing different is how I'd play drums on a part is not the way Brianna would. You know what I mean? How Mike plays a part is not maybe the way I originally, or when we wrote it, it was originally envisioned. But his style is I love his style. So I haven't written outside of the band recently, I'd say in the last 7 years, except with Steven Van Zandt, and that was even in the studio. So we took a song that I'd already written with one of the band members, and that didn't. When we first brought it back, it was tough because the band didn't feel a part of it, you know.
Right.
Um, but they went with it because it was Steven, and they love Steven, and they trust him. There's a difference. Um, when I wrote with John Bon Jovi and Billy Falcon, there was me and Travis. The rest of the band really wasn't in existence. Like 3 years, it was just writing, and then we'd have these rotating players working out parts. And then, actually, on the album that we did then, which was In the Valley of Love and Guns, 2013 release, those were like session players, like really well-known session players that played on most of it, except for Travis and I. Now Travis and I do a bulk of the writing, and Travis has been my co-writer since 13, so that's 8 years. And we'll write the song, and sometimes we work out middle sections and parts with the band. We always work out arrangement. We have a skeleton arrangement that we think works, and sometimes it stays that all the way through to the end process of the final product. Sometimes it changes in the rehearsal room. So we send the demo when it's done, or at least as done as we feel it can be done, to the band. We come back, we run it as it is a few times, and then people start adding their own pieces to it. And sometimes Travis or I will have ideas about drums, and that wasn't good at first. And then it became like I just said, listen, none of us are married to any of these parts. We're trying things. Just
Yeah.
try it.
Yeah,
Just
yeah.
try this approach to it. And it's really hard for me personally to hear what works um, until I record it and go back and listen to it a few days later. Because you have your attachments to a certain way, and even if you aren't conscious of them, and then when somebody else,
Demolitis, we call
yeah,
it.
and then somebody else plays it differently. But I find that we do it in there, and then we go out and we play it live. Then people naturally go to something different or try something. You're playing it over and over and over again. Then we like to record it. With quarantine being as it was, we never really got the opportunity to track a lot of the songs on this next album live or to play them live, which we normally
Right.
do. But we had plenty of time in rehearsal room to go over and over and over and try things. And and then when you get to the studio, it's another thing. You know what I mean? Then people have their own ideas and would you try this? And sometimes the player's willing, sometimes they're, stubborn about it. And it's never like an easy thing, but the band definitely has, and they, more, the longer we've done things together, the more ideas they bring to the table arrangement wise. Like Brianna is fantastic with background vocals, our drummer. Like she has ideas for background vocals I would never have come up with. And then I sometimes have really unique ideas for background vocals. Like in Tight Lipped, I didn't want to do this normal like padding. So I was like, just do ooh, 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 ooh. And it came out. I thought it probably was a dumb idea, but I was like, it kept hounding at me. So I had to say it. And we did it on the recording. And I'm like, it's amazing. It's like, it's really good. It was a good idea. So I was like, yeah. But yeah, it's always kind of somebody's bringing something different. Sometimes Travis has ideas. Mike definitely brings his own style to the table.
Is
He's
Mike
on
the
this
guitar player?
yeah, but
Did
he's
he
our
play on Roots?
he did not. He's on the next album. So
Who?
Roots, actually, Mike Reisman, who was with us, we were all like really good friends. Mike Dudelovich, who is our guitarist now, and Mike Reisman, great friends. Mike's band, the Nuclears, played with us all the time. Like we were really good friends with his band. Our bands were good friends. We played with New York, we played Philly, we played Jersey together. I don't think we ever got out of the tri-state area, um, but he actually left his band and was like, "Do you guys, you know, I want to, let's play." And I was like, "All right." And it was just casual. And now I'm like, well, he's a guitarist. It's like it
Right.
just was a natural progression. It just made sense. I mean, he knew all our songs that we had already done, and he understands the style and loves the style, the same
Yeah.
kind of music that we love. So it worked.
I really enjoyed the guitar playing on Roots.
They're equally as good. That's all I
Yeah.
can say. They're equally as good. They like the same. They both love Mick Ronson. Mike
It
Reisman
shows.
loved
Yeah, me
Queen.
too.
Yeah, yeah, they love me. Actually, Mike, who's with us now, Mike D, he played Mick Ronson in. Did you ever hear the series Vinyl?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he's a avid. Like he's lived in New York since he was 19 or 18 years old. He's 33 now. And he's, got these weird things have happened in his life. And one of them was somebody wanted to cast him as Mick Ronson in Vinyl. So they did. He's not even an actor, but if you
Oh,
watch
that's
Vinyl, he's
awesome.
Mick Ronson.
That's amazing. Did you
Yeah, he
watch
always.
that documentary about Ronson?
Yes, I did. Yes, I did.
Ah.
No, I don't know. Maybe I know there was a documentary out with David Bowie that was based around his time with Mick Ronson. Is that the one?
Yeah,
Like it was
well,
like
it
an
was
hour
called
long.
like Standing Next to Bowie maybe or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah, I think I saw that one.
Yeah.
I've seen so many, Mike. Like
Right.
I just don't remember.
Same. Um so let's talk about the next year.
Hmm.
We're 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 going to optimistically assume that uh that Omniprom is not going to fucking ruin everything.
Yeah.
Uh Also, the worst name. They couldn't pick another letter. They couldn't pick an.
It just sounds like a robot. I'm like, what is even that?
That's just terrible. They should have called me and been like, "Hey, can you greenlight this?" And I'd be like, "No, I can't. No, pick something else. Pick another letter."
I'll tell you what though, COVID was such big news for so long, and then it was like not like it's like this little piece, and then even when Delta hit, it was like it was a little piece, and now it's just like oh,
Right.
it's big news again. Like it's so weird to me. It's like because I've gone back to life maybe with a mask, but I've gone and vaccinated. Like it's funny, the guy who introduced us, the Flesh Tones.
Hmm.
Um, Keith Strang, the guitarist for the Flesh Tones, when we were in Stockholm and Malmo, he introduced our band. And he said, they've done countless boosters and they've been PCR tested 20 times each and they're here. And I was like, listen, he's not lying. Like you vaccinated and PCR test both places to get on the plane, to be allowed on a plane. And now this thing, and I'm like, well, now, like, what else can you possibly ask me to do? I mean, that's where I still wear the mask. We still got tested within 72 hours, still are vaccinated. I was like, so it's like, I think I try to remember, like, we're playing Michigan in a few days, and allegedly there was a spike in Detroit recently, if not now, I don't even know anymore. But I went out to California when there was the biggest spike in COVID to do our tight lipped video. And I'll admit I was scared. I was like, maybe I shouldn't be doing this. Like maybe this is a bad idea. And but I had the team I wanted because they were basically shut down everywhere else. We had
Right.
like ridiculous gear. So I was like, this is dumb to not go. There was no vaccine. I had a mask and I got on a plane and I made it. Like, you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
then I hear stories of people who wear the mask and still get it. So I'm like, I don't know. Like, I don't know how I feel about any of it, but I would really hate for things to go back to
I think
that.
it's better to play it. I mean, I'm not here to convince anyone to do one thing or the
Yeah.
other.
Yes. I agree. I'm not
But
either.
what's the harm in playing it safe?
I don't know.
I don't
I
know
don't know.
too.
I mean, the thing is, like, it's from what I hear about it so far, and like, obviously, I'm just reading news. Just, and I don't, people even now say, like, well, what news? I'm like, I'm just listening to news. And what I hear is it's more contagious, which is normal for a virus to become more contagious as it goes along,
Sure.
right? So, but it's too soon to know the, the, how intense it is kind of thing. So,
Did you get sick over the last 2 years? Did you catch it?
no.
No.
I never
We're
got COVID, and
unsure.
I haven't got sick either in 2 years.
Right.
So
Well, you know, we've had a lot less contact. When we go out, we're wearing masks. It's like, I think it's pretty natural that you wouldn't get a cold or anything else.
as a singer,
I think I had it.
you do. Did
I
you
think
lose?
so.
Did you? How do you? Why do you think so?
I
Like,
don't,
what
I mean, I
happened?
don't, oh, I just felt like I was hit by a truck for 2 weeks, a week and a half, 2 weeks. It was terrible.
Yeah.
But I went to the doctor. It was before, it was when the shutdown happened. It was like on the nose of this whole thing. And,
Oh.
but I went to the doctor and they didn't have COVID testing then. And the doctor was
No.
just like, oh, you just have some virus. And I was like, exactly. Okay,
Yep.
come on. Come on. Now we have a
Oh.
bigger dog.
That's
Some
awesome. The
sometimes
mascot is in the room.
sometimes Rosie likes to come on up here, huh,
Oh,
Rosie?
Rosie. Rosie's part of it.
So you didn't get sick, and that's great.
No. And here's
Um,
the weird thing. Literally the week before, we played a show at the Redwood Bar in Los Angeles on March 6th that was, if not sold out, it was oversold. And it was us, and there was a third man artist, Olivia Jean, we did it with. And I mean, there was plenty of like hugs and like, talking, and people were just like
right,
close. Like so I'm like, how did none of us, not one of us got it? Like, you know what I mean? So weird to me that that happened, but nobody ever had symptoms of any kind. So if anybody did get it, they were symptomless people.
right,
Um, I never lost everybody I talked to in my like close knit group. There's two people I know that got it, and both of them said they all got it like in summer, like when things first started opening up. And they said, I knew I had it because I couldn't taste anything or smell anything. Both of them said that. And I was like, see, that's going to be my test. If I can't smell or taste anything, I'm going to know. Because I mean, there were some times in December of 19, like I just did not feel good. And I was like dizzy all the time. And I was like, I don't know what this is. But I just thought it was like a flu. You know what I
right.
mean? So there's part of me is like, maybe I had COVID for a minute. Like I never did an antibody test or anything, but
Yeah.
I was just like, I don't know. Like, it's funny. I don't know if you ever get this, and this might sound weird saying this publicly, but I'm going to say it anyway because I do that.
That's my favorite part of every conversation.
Because I go like, as soon as it happened, I thought I'm not going to get it. Like, I just knew. I was like, I'm not going to get sick. I was like, it was like the weirdest thing because I wasn't trying to consciously go, I'm going to get sick or not, or worry or
Right.
whatever. I just thought I'm not going to get it. It just came to me like that. Like, you're not getting it. And I was like, okay. And I just went with that. And I just, I have masks. I don't have a problem with a mask at all because I'm like, doctors wear it when they go into surgery. I can wear it.
Right.
I've been around people who've had it with a mask on and I didn't get it. So I just choose to believe it works. And I'm good with that. And I'm careful. Like, there's people like my band, we don't wear masks around each other. But when we are in certain areas, like Sweden, we didn't wear any masks. There's no masks. There's nobody had it really. I think it was like 30 some people per 200 or whatever, 100,000. Like they do it like that.
Yeah.
It was like so little there. So it was not an issue. But then you came home and you were like, oh, I don't have my mask. I forgot my mask. And you were in this mental state that you're like, I didn't wear a mask for like literally 2 weeks of my life. It was awesome. But I wear a mask when I go to the supermarket. I wear it when I go anywhere, inside, anywhere. It's like, why not? If I might have it and I'm protecting somebody else too. So I don't have a problem with it. Is
Right.
you know.
Assuming that there will be no other restrictions that stop us from having live music happen. What are your plans for music release and for performing from this day forward?
We're pretty set with music releases for next year. Like we have a single January 28th, and then we have another one 6 weeks later, and then we have another one 6 weeks later, and then we have an album coming out. So there's like 3 singles and an album next year, and then um, and right now our summer and fall are looking really busy. I, for some reason, didn't really get on booking spring tour, so it looks like it's going to be a lot of one-offs, maybe short tours, because we never really. I think because this whole last 4 months has been so busy,
Right.
I just haven't like had the time to sit with the booking agent or and really talk it through. But I'd like to do a short tour at least in March, April time. But it looks like our summer's super busy. We're already going back to Sweden in June, and we have a bunch of shows in July.
Awesome.
So yeah, so as much playing as we can since new music's coming out too.
Nice. I might see you there.
Yes.
We'll see. And um, I might have some fill-in dates with. I might have some fill-in dates. I might be in Europe in the summer, so
Oh,
we
I
might
would love that.
we might cross paths. We might be on the same festival dates. Who knows?
Well, that would be awesome. That would
Yeah.
be awesome.
Um. So we're at an hour and a half now, and so I don't want to like.
Yeah, that's good, right?
Oh no, no,
It's
it's
probably
great.
too much.
No, no, it's great. It's awesome. I
Okay.
just I kept throughout our conversation. I was trying to remember like, God, well, what did we talk about? And then swinging back and be like, it doesn't really matter as long as this conversation is good.
Yeah.
And I think it was good.
I think so too. I had a good
Um,
time. I have a
yeah,
better
yeah.
backdrop than the kitchen, so I'm happy about that.
What do you
On
have
my
there
little
behind you?
these are things that have been given to me by fans, but I've started to collect them. It's like a David Bowie. I don't know what they're called, but they're
Oh
like
yeah,
big-headed little men.
I have a Chuck D.
You do?
I have a Chuck D of that, and I
Yeah.
have what is he? And I have Run DMC.
Do I have Iggy Pop too?
Oh no, does
How
he have?
great
I
is that?
can't tell. It's really
No, he doesn't have a shirt.
good.
You probably can see his pecs a little bit, but it's an Iggy Pop one. Somebody sent me. I don't know who sent me that one. And then I have Edgar Allan Poe because I love Edgar Allan Poe. Somebody sent me this too. And I do love Kermit the Frog, so there's a Kermit the Frog. He's a big fan of Kermit. I actually got the Disney Channel because I love the Muppets. I watch all the old Muppets shows.
Oh,
I
nice.
just watched the one with Blondie.
They're
Like
all on there. Oh, see, that's something I haven't even dove into yet. I need to get in on that.
You should dive into that right there. You should watch the Blondie one.
I
And
was
the
watching those in real time as a kid.
yo, you guys see the Star Wars one with Mark Hamill? He's just so strange. It's so weird. It's like they must have been on like not real drugs, but some kind of air drugs going around.
Right.
Like they're all so weird. It's such a weird time. But it's good. It's really good. And the Blondie one was great. And she sings with the Muppets. I always said I'll know I made it when I sing with the Muppets. So
I think
that's my bar.
that's one of the things.
Yeah, Muppets.
Awesome.
And I have my Purple Rain album too, because that's my
Oh
favorite album
yes.
of all time.
Is that right?
I
Oh,
think so.
yeah,
I
I
always go
think
back to it.
it's incredible. I had that vinyl release. I was in the 7th grade when that came out, and I had it as a new release. Yeah.
You had the vinyl or tape?
Yeah. No
Yeah.
vinyl. No, I've since the 7th grade I've bought records.
Yeah.
Oh, since before then actually.
Wow.
So I
Because
have
records were not popular for a long period. It was like
and I
CDs,
still
CDs, CDs.
bought records.
That's amazing. That's really cool.
Not exclusively, but I always had a record player and always bought records for sure. I liked it better. I just did.
I won't ever go back now. It's like
Hard
too
to take
late.
a record collection on a road trip and listen to music. So,
I admit Spotify is my thing in the car. So
it is for everyone, right?
yeah,
That's
you
a
can't
great
carry all those CDs anymore.
Oh no,
They
it's
just smash and
terrible.
stuff.
Did you ever have to tour before there was streaming?
Yes.
That's
Yeah.
it was the worst. You had
Yeah,
to
we
have
had
a
CDs.
CD book.
Yeah, yeah, we definitely did. I'm trying to remember when streaming started. It wasn't that long ago either, and
No.
we've been touring since '07, '06, maybe '07. So 14 years.
Around that time, I remember I started using this service where I could upload my entire digitized music catalog to a cloud.
Yep.
And then if I had Wi Fi, I could access it. But I don't know what happened to that.
I don't either. I don't think Wi-Fi was very accessible at
No,
that
it
time either.
sucked. It
Yeah, there was no
sucked.
like universal Wi-Fi.
Now,
Still isn't, but
yeah, now it's going to be zapped to us from the stars or whatever.
well, I'm gonna watch Get Back tonight. So thanks for
Oh,
that.
you will not regret it.
Just the when you said how they put the songs together, I'm like really always wonder
It's
if there's
so cool. I
what's
mean, you hear songs that end up on each of their respective first solo albums too.
whoa.
Like there's a version of Jealous Guy. There's
That the Beatles did?
well, John is introducing it to the band and it's just the chords and the melody, everything else is changed. Or no, not Jealous Guy. I'm sorry. It's Give Me Some Truth. And All Things Must Pass.
Mhm.
George sings and it's just so cool. It's the fucking coolest thing I've seen this year, and I've
That's
seen a
awesome.
lot of cool shit.
Yeah.
You're gonna love it.
I'm excited.
You're
So
gonna
I've
love
always
it.
like, what should I watch? Like I'm over the Muppets already too. I'll watch some Star Wars. I watched Star Wars Empire Strikes Back. I was like, this is so good.
That's the best one.
Oh my god, it is. It's so good.
That's the
And then
best
that's when
one.
Harrison Ford is frozen at the end, and you're like, what's gonna happen?
So good, so fucking tragic.
Mm.
He's a cocky asshole right up until that moment, even. It's so good.
Yeah, Princess Leia
Remember,
kind of
he's like,
softens him a little.
I know.
Yeah.
He's like, I know.
Yep. And then he's just a frozen guy.
I'm just a frozen guy.
Jealous guy. So good. You pulled it
Well,
together.
thank you so much.
Thank you for
Um,
doing it and being willing to do it again. It says 89% uploaded. So what do I
oh
just
yeah,
leave it?
so what I'm gonna actually people don't need to hear us talk about Star Wars now. So I'm gonna stop the recording